I just remember getting this spanking one time.
With a hand or a switch?
With a hand.
Oh.
I deserved it for sure. But I just remember like...
You didn't. You didn't deserve it. Because children should not be spanked. But please continue.
But yeah, I just remember crying and singing at the same time and finding it to be so therapeutic. I had to be like 5 years old. My dad thought it was like the most hilarious thing, me just like bawling and crying at the same time. I mean, bawling and singing at the same time. And man, yeah, I think that was like the start of really...
What does that sound like?
Oh, man, a wail, a moan, a holler. I definitely couldn't replicate it right now.
It definitely sounds like the blues as far as the worst thing that could happen to a 5-year-old is I got spanked by my father, and now I'm letting out the pain in my heart by...
Yo, for real, that's the blues for sure.
The Touré show. Okay, though. The Touré show. Okay, though.
That might be the best question I've ever been asked.
You're a phenomenal person. I mean, you legendary.
I am a fan of you, my brother.
Durand Jones is an amazing soul musician, singer, writer, creator. He's got a new album called Wait Till I Get Over, and I love diving deep into his musical history because it goes deep. Let's get it. It's Durand Jones on Touré Show. So this album is about Hillaryville.
Yes.
Little town you grew up in. Tell us about it. Tell us about where you grew up.
Man.
In Louisiana.
In Louisiana.
Did I say Louisiana right? How are you supposed to say it?
Yeah, you could say Louisiana. Some people say Louisiana.
That's what I...
You know.
That's what I like.
That's them country folks right there.
But you're country.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me, how many people are there?
You know, it's a good question. I was asking my brother that, and I was like, you think there's like 700, 1,000 people in Hillaryville? And he was like, no. He was like, maybe 350, 500.
So you talk about like a one stoplight town.
That's not even a light.
Do you have a mayor?
No.
So it's tiny.
unincorporated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it all black?
Used to be.
Okay.
Used to be.
Mostly black.
Yeah, mostly black.
And you know everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those towns where like if you don't wave at Miss Ivory Carter when she's on her porch, she's gonna call your people and be like, your boy didn't wave at me. He didn't say hello to me. You know, like it's totally that sort of vibe.
And y'all were poor.
In a way, yeah. You know, I didn't realize it until I left. And I was like, wow, we were poor, but, you know, my dad still made sure we had Christmas and birthdays and all that jazz. But upon leaving, I realized, whoa, he was really making it work with very, very little.
When did music start?
I think, man, I think music started for me. I just remember getting this spanking one time.
With a hand or a switch?
With a hand.
Oh.
I deserved it for sure. But I just remember like...
You didn't. You didn't deserve it. Because children should not be spanked. But please continue.
But yeah, I just remember crying and singing at the same time and finding it to be so therapeutic. I had to be like 5 years old. My dad thought it was like the most hilarious thing, me just like bawling and crying at the same time. I mean, bawling and singing at the same time. And man, yeah, I think that was like the start of really...
What does that sound like?
Oh, man, a wail, a moan, a holler. I definitely couldn't replicate it right now.
It definitely sounds like the blues as far as the worst thing that could happen to a 5-year-old is I got spanked by my father, and now I'm letting out the pain in my heart by...
Yo, for real, that's the blues for sure. finding a way to navigate that pain through something therapeutic.
Yeah.
Truly. I didn't know it was that at the time, though.
No.
I was just singing my little heart out and crying, you know?
And it continues mainly in church or mainly at home?
It continued mainly at home until it got really aggravating for my family. And they were like, why don't you go sing in church? Like, you need some other place to sing.
So you were walking around the house singing all the time?
All the time. My grandmother would get so fed up. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They weren't really that supportive.
They were supportive in their own way. But yeah,
means.
Even like getting the saxophone, there would be moments where they'd just be like, go outside and play that thing. Because we're just tired of hearing it in the house. Like,
but you got your 10,000 hours in the house as a kid, right? Like that's where you were like experimenting and developing your voice.
Yes. Oh yeah. Just singing my little heart out. And it was a very personal thing for me back then. I was very introverted, very to myself, a really shy kid. And so that was something personal for me and only me.
You were singing to yourself?
For myself, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And because, so does that continue, that foundation of singing for yourself? Is that still sort of where you are?
No. Now I've realized that it's my purpose and I'm walking in it fully. And I think with that, what I want to do is I want to be a healer. I always ask myself, like, if I could have a superpower, what would it be? And I think I would want to be like some type of like healer guy or something.
Okay.
And in my own way, I feel like I try to do that at my shows. Like, I want folks to leave better than they came.
Nice.
And if that happens, then I know that I did my job correctly.
Nice. Wait, so how do you do that?
I have to express love and joy and empathy and really harbor a place of love. I really feel the task to do that now. There was one point after the pandemic, around 2021, where I started to get back on the road again and play a lot of music again, where these certain audiences all around the country would just see people breaking out in fights in the audience. And I was like, I think it's a little bit of my job, my duty to make this place a loving place, a peaceful place, harbor those things. Some folks are like, you don't have anything to do with that. But in a way, I feel like I do. The energy that I give out, the energy that I put out, I really want it to be healing. I want it to be loving and peaceful. I've noticed, especially like when I go on stage and set those intentions, I haven't seen any fights since. So I got to keep going with that.
That's beautiful. Soul music definitely has that ability to heal, right? I think as a direct son of the blues.
Yeah.
And soul music that's about love and home and just creating peace. Some of the great songs we think of, like the intention is to create peace in the listener, and it can do that so well.
Yeah. I really do feel like soul music can lament with you when you're sad. It can rejoice with you when you're happy. It can be the party for you whenever you want to celebrate, and everything in between. And I think that's why I've really found my voice and my placing within that genre, or it found me in many ways.
The church has been incredibly important in the development of soul music.
Yes.
And I think a lot of modern artists aren't going to church, and so they're getting a different education.
Yeah.
But like you're getting that classic soul music education by being in a Southern, it was Baptist church?
It was, yep.
Southern Baptist, like, right? I mean, like that's part of the heart of soul music.
Yeah, yeah. And in many ways, I really feel like African-American religious music was kind of the birth of American music in many ways.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it was really important for me to recognize the importance of being in a setting like that and also embracing and soaking it all in and taking it in. There were so many amazing singers in my little town who had no ambition to do what I'm doing right now. And Sunday morning was just good enough for them.
Yeah.
And they were huge influences on my singing, on my phrasing, on my musicality, and I'm super thankful. Super, super thankful for that.
So wait, when did you start to say, maybe I should do this for a job. Maybe I should leave this town and go see how far I can take this?
When I was around 17 years old, I started to sing in the choir at church when I was like 16. My grandmother forced me to do it. I didn't want to do it.
Huh. Why didn't you want to do it if you loved singing?
Because I was so nervous and afraid, and like the introvert, shy kid in me was just like, what if they're all just gonna laugh at you, you know, like that sort of thing. And so like the first year of being in that choir, I just mouthed the words. I didn't even sing a note, dog, like straight up.
Even in rehearsal?
Even in rehearsal.
Nobody caught you?
Nobody caught me.
I mean, surely they must have heard, like, what's your mother's name?
Oh, man. My stepmother's name is Penny Jones, who's also a singer as well.
Well, no, I'm sure they're like, how come Penny's son's not singing? what the hell? Right? We don't even think of Durand. Like, what's the matter with Penny's son? He's not saying anything. He's pretending. Pastor, I could hear. He's not singing. I'm not trying to snitch. I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. I guess they were just giving me the benefit of the doubt. And maybe they were just like, oh, he just wants to be up here.
But were you the youngest one?
I was one of the youngest, yeah. I had another friend who was total opposite, extroverted. He would like direct the choir and do all these different things. And I was like the shy one, really quiet, really meek. Eventually I got a little comfortable to sing a little bit, and immediately the organist heard me and she was like, I'm gonna get you to sing a solo. And she got me to sing a solo in front of the church, and everyone went crazy, catching the Holy Ghost.
What was the song?
It was called All I Want to Do Is Praise Your Name. And a little ballad tune. And I mean, like, it got so intense to where the pastor was like, all right, we're going to have to take a little 5-minute breather. Like, it was that amazing. And afterwards, after church, folks were coming up and just showing love and handing me money and stuff. And that's where I was like, okay, maybe
this is real.
Maybe I am capable of, you know, making something out of this singing thing.
But it's a huge shock to the system when you leave a tiny town and go. Where did you go from Hillaryville?
From Hillaryville, I went to college at a small university called Southeastern Louisiana University in Hammond.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you go to Indiana.
Yes, for grad school.
Okay. A lot of singers don't go to graduate school, right? For music, right? Right? Most professional singers do not do that. So what did you learn there that you carry with you that's made you the person you are?
In Indiana?
Yeah, in graduate school.
Well, funny thing is, I didn't go to grad school for singing either. I went for classical saxophone.
Okay.
And I had this assistantship, this job with this class called the IU Soul Review. And I'm pretty sure, at least it was the case when I was there, it's the only nationally accredited soul music class where the kids can audition.
Wow.
And if they make it in, you not only learn about soul music, you perform it as well. That year, they just happened to be short on male singers. And so the director asked me to sing. I reluctantly said yes. And, I was like, I left Louisiana and I was like, I'm going to be a saxophone player. I'm going to be a classical musician, And Universal's like, no. We got a whole other plan for you.
Yeah, people nudged you to singing, right? This is twice now you've said that 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Because your grandmother said go to church, and it was the choir director who was like, you're going to do a solo.
Yeah.
And now it was a man at IU is saying, no, go sit, right? So people keep pushing you in that direction.
Yes. Yeah. I guess they saw something within me that I didn't see within myself.
Wow.
Which was so dang on beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess what I grabbed most from grad school with singing was finding my own personal voice. Before going to Indiana, I was in a bunch of cover bands out in Louisiana, which was absolutely great. I learned just as much in those cover bands as I did in church, because every weekend I got to sing Stevie and Al Green and James Brown and Michael Jackson and Etta James and Gladys Knight and all of these wide array of soul musicians. Not only did I get to figure out, exactly what were they doing vocally, but also like experiencing the songwriting, the Holland Dozier Holland tunes and the other great Motown songwriters, and how David Ruffin can get that really rough sound and then immediately go to something crooning, like all of those things I really learned doing those covers. And then getting to Indiana, I really found my voice, who I wanted to be as a vocalist, which was very beautiful and to witness. The word grace comes to mind. Gracious for that. Yeah.
Did the sax inform or inspire some of what you do with the voice?
Some people, I never correlated the two until folks would tell me that they could hear.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'm still trying to figure that out.
So wait, so let me jump back for a second, because you've talked about being queer, being gay, and there's a journey there. Because you were ashamed of it when you were at home in Hillaryville, and now you're very proud.
Yeah.
And sometimes being up in that restrictive church environment can be more emotionally complex. So talk about your journey from realizing who you are, feeling ashamed about it, the family reaction, and then getting to a place of like pride and acceptance.
Yeah. It was something that I always felt within myself. I mean,
You always knew it.
always knew it. I remember being in preschool and like having a crush on a boy named Dane. Like I just always like had that thing. But I knew immediately that it was not right or wrong at the time. Going to church every Sunday. Rest in peace. There was this amazing singer and organist who passed away. His name was Terry, obviously queer. And he would absolutely just set the church on fire, just like really get people out of their seats, really like get the Holy Ghost moving and going, like really setting it up for the pastor to knock it out the park. And then the pastor sometimes would get on the pulpit and talk about how homosexuality is wrong and gay people are going to hell. And it was like everybody's eyes would avert to Terry, while he's sitting there on the organ. And even as a kid, I just thought that was so wrong and messed up, because he's doing the Lord's work in so many ways. But just hearing that indoctrination nearly every Sunday, like really made me ashamed, and also like made me as an adolescent and as a teenager, question God, like, why did you make me this way? Like, why did you put me through this? I didn't realize that I was being moved towards a fragile form of masculinity, and not fully embracing all parts of myself. I think what led me to embrace and learn to love myself is getting out of Hillaryville and going to college and meeting folks. The tune, That Feeling, on my solo record, that guy who I wrote that song for, because I was totally like, I knew I had these feelings, but I never acted upon them. He was someone who really was flat out blunt with me, like, hey, I like you and I think you like me and we should try this out. And I really appreciate him for doing that, because it really opened me up to a world that I was so afraid of, and really gave me a lot of freedom and confidence within myself. For years and years, all of my close friends knew that I was bisexual, but I still like really kept it private and to myself.
Were you really bi?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
'Cause some people say or feel that, but because they or the world around them is not ready to be like, I'm actually gay. I'm not bi.
Yeah. Sometimes it's so weird. Sometimes I would love to call myself a sapiosexual.
Wait, what does that mean?
Sapiosexual is someone who's like attracted to people with brilliant minds.
Whatever gender.
Yeah, I would love to say I'm sapiosexual, but I've definitely fallen for some stupid ass people before.
Who hasn't?
Yo. But I will say a brilliant mind to me is so damn sexy. But sometimes I feel absolutely asexual. Like,
Sure.
I don't want to be with anyone.
Sure.
And I'm still grappling with that, and discovering who I am every day. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm pansexual. Sometimes I see a trans man or a trans woman, I'm like, damn, they are fine as hell.
Sure.
But I've never dated a non-binary person before. So there's a lot for me to discover still. I'm becoming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you in a relationship now?
No.
Okay. So you're free to become.
Yes. Yes. My relationship right now is with music. And
Yes.
that's what the song I Want You on the record is about. I have literally put every intimate relationship aside for my career. It's been something that I've wanted so badly, maybe too badly, I don't know. But I really desire and long for that relationship with music. And then once I achieve what I want from that, maybe I'll go dating again.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you see the way you feel in the music? Do you see that part of you coming into the music?
Yes. And
Because I don't listen to the music and say, oh, this is a queer artist. Like, this is a soul music artist. I hear the blackness, I hear the maleness. Maybe somebody else will be like, well, I hear it, but but you're like, it's all in there.
it's in there for me. Yeah. And this record right here was such a personal one. I didn't realize it when I was doing it, but it honestly was like a therapy session, because I was taking all of these traumatizing things to me at the time and really working through them and finding strength through vulnerability, which has been a really beautiful process for me.
Now, wait. I want to talk about the making of this record.
Yeah.
But first, you are in a group, and this is a solo record. And I always wonder, so what is the moment when you say to the guys, so I know I'm the front man and the leader of the group, but this one I'm going to do solo, right? And are they like, oh man, really? Or are they like, yeah, go for it, but damn, you're kind of leaving us behind?
I appreciate this question a lot. It was a bit of mixed feelings, truthfully. My other bandmate, Aaron Fraser, he dropped a solo record maybe about a year or so before, and I feel like he opened Pandora's box a little bit, which honestly, when he came back from that process, he had this sense of confidence about him. He had this something newly developed that felt very special. I would tell him, like, sitting next to you, I can feel the fire burning. And I kind of wanted that too. And so with working with the Indications, you know, it was such a collaborative process, and I had to learn that to not take it personally, to hear no. Like, no, this is not the aesthetic. No, this is not what we're gonna do. Whatever. But I wanted to know, like, okay, like, what if I could go into the studio and just do whatever the hell I wanted to do? And so it really burned in me to give it a shot and to go for it. When I told the guys that I wanted to do it, they were just like, okay, yeah, cool, you know? And once I shared with them what I was working on, they were like, whoa, okay, you're onto something here. So they've been pretty encouraging for the most part.
Little resentment, though.
I've heard, you know, someone on the Indications team told me that I was making a huge mistake.
Wow.
You know, and I didn't care. I knew that this was something that I really needed to do, something that I had to do. So he wasn't going to deter me from that.
But are these the sorts of things that lead to a group breaking up? Like, you know, like little resentments like maybe that person clearly feels some resentment, and you may feel resentment that he said and felt that way. And if y'all come back together, maybe like, yeah, I'm looking at you side, I'm looking at you, right? You know, and it just sort of develops in what other people are about, right? Like, is that kind of part of how it happens?
That's what therapy's for, dog. You know, and
group therapy?
Yes.
Y'all do that?
Yes.
Really?
Which I highly recommend every band to do.
Wait, it's 5 of y'all.
Yes.
And you go as a group to see one specific therapist.
Yes.
Monthly?
We try monthly, but with all of our varying schedules, it depends from time to time. And
it's made a huge difference.
Oh, so far, yes. Incredible. And I mean, sometimes it's one-on-one. It's like 2 bandmates grieving some things out. And sometimes it's 3. Sometimes, you know, someone from the team may join. And sometimes, you know, full band. So, yeah, it's been really awesome and super beneficial. And I'm so thankful that I have a group of guys who are willing and down to do something like that with me.
Well, you don't have to name any specific individuals, but like a lesson that came out of therapy that helped the group continue to move forward.
I think what our expectations are of each other and what we want out of the group. For many of us, I think we felt like, okay, this is my shot. This is my opportunity. I can't let anybody mess this up, you know? Meanwhile, in doing so with that mindset, you kind of dismiss everyone around you, your collaborators, your musicians, your folks. And so learning to unpack that has been super beautiful and super beneficial. Yeah.
It's amazing. Definitely more groups should do that. I've heard of some groups that do that. I talked to a group that was like, yeah, we're in therapy. It made a huge difference.
Oh my gosh.
It was a huge
Yeah, it's awesome. Really awesome.
So, okay, you have the freedom to go into the studio to do whatever you want. How do you go about making music when you have complete freedom?
Man, I wanted to have concepts. I wanted it to be art forward. I wanted to try things that I never gotten the opportunity to try before. And so that required me to find musicians who were willing to step off the cliff and dive into the deep end with me. And I'm so thankful for the guys that were willing to let me lead them into the abyss. I brought all of these artists that I really admired, non-music artists, because I wanted us to be influenced by things not so literal. I wanted the metaphor to be huge in the recording process for this. And so we had these binders with like prints from Glenn Ligon and these sound suits from this guy. His name is Nick Cave. There was we had like these murals from Teresita Fernandez and these quilt paintings, which are absolutely fabulous by this artist Anna Buckner, where they just contort and stretch and move and really have like this amorphous vibe about them that feels really, really, really cool. And I brought some books in, Toni Morrison, Sula, James Baldwin, Just Above My Head, Yoko Ono, Grapefruit, some Fred Moten poems, some Nikki Giovanni poems, some Claudia Rankine poems. And instead of like listening to music as references, we looked at this art for reference. So instead of being like, I want this groove to feel like James Brown, I would say like, I want this groove to move in the shape that this Anna Buckner quilt painting moves. Or or we would watch the Nick Cave sound suits moving, and you know, I'd be like, hear how that wood is moving, like that's what we need in this essence, in this context. And that was so much fun to do. Absolutely.
I love that you brought these non-musical things for inspiration for music. That's amazing. Talk about a little bit about how Morrison and Baldwin and Ligon influenced things.
Oh man. Toni's honesty, her ability to cut the fluff and get right into the visceral. It's inspirational to me. And particularly the book Sula really resonated with me, just on the lines of infidelity and freedom and there's like these lines at the beginning of the book where she's talking about how there's these people who are dancing, and some white folks are watching, and the white folks are like enjoying it, but they don't see the bags under their eyes. They don't know the pain in the back, or you know, all these different things of what it took. And that reminded me so much of Hillaryville. And so I really took some inspiration from that. James Baldwin with Just Above My Head. That book was in my grandmother's house my entire life. And I'm so surprised by it because it's such a queer book. It's insane how he correlates gospel to queerness in the book. It's genius.
Yes.
And I didn't grab the book until after my grandmother passed. I wish I could have talked to her about this book. Just like, what did you think about this? Like, it was like right there on a bookshelf. So I mean, like, she must have loved it. She kept it for a reason. And And I remember grabbing that book and reading it on a tour and sitting in the back of the van and just crying, just bawling and crying. Like every page, it felt like a little piece of my personal self. And for that, like, James will always be a mentor of mine. And he really showed me, okay, like, you want to express your queer identity, do it through art.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a real huge proponent for me. Glenn Ligon, man, he had these amazing prints where he would start with some text, like a Zora Neale Hurston quote or something. And as the page goes down, the text would just get muddled and muddled and muddled. And I found that to be so expressive and quite musical. And I wanted to express that in music, where like I'll start with a melody and really develop it until it's a cacophony of emotions towards the end, you know? And so I really try to embrace that. He also has this print with the I Am a Man. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yes, that's one of my favorite pieces of art, where he just like picks, you know, all the little imperfection spots. I've always felt that way as an artist in the past. In a way, I guess, afraid or really trying to meet other people's expectations other than my own. And seeing that was really important for me, and super inspirational. Kind of reinforced to me that I really need to embrace who I am within myself, imperfections and all.
So you're in there, you have some piece of inspiration.
Yeah.
You know where you want to go. Is it the rhythm first? Is it the melody first? Do we go into the sound and then bring in the words and the lyrics? Or how do you do it?
Man, so I was working on these tunes for years and years, just on piano and singing. At first, I thought maybe these could live with the indications, but then I realized, nah, that's not going to be the case. And upon wanting to go into the studio and dive into these, I didn't give the band any expectations. I gave them my demos of me on piano and singing, but we kind of just walked into the studio together to really figure it out. So we just jumped right on in, honestly. And I really, really appreciate them letting me steer the ship. I could tell them, you know, this isn't working, or we need to speed this up. We need to slow this down. This groove is a little weird. It's a little wonky. But also allowing them to try things. One thing I really tried to reiterate in that studio process was that no idea was a bad one. We would try any idea that anyone had. And so, yeah, just went into it with an open mind, not necessarily thinking, okay, we're going to start with this groove here and see how this works out. You know, just jumped right into the tunes, whatever was in folks' heads. You know, I really wanted that sporadicness. I wanted us to play. Victor Wooten has this quote, like, a kid playing air guitar never misses any notes.
Right.
And I really wanted us to play in that way, because I feel like that's the freest way to go.
Are you really playing the songs? Like, is it a live recording, or is it pieces?
It's live. Yeah. Which is something that I never got to do with any album in the past. It would be like the instrumentals would track, you know, the drummer would do his thing.
Right.
and then the bass and guitar would come on and the keys,
Right.
and then you have like your vocal day. I didn't want to do that this time around. I looked at all of my favorite musicians, like Dionne Warwick,
Sure.
with Burt Bacharach and Hal David, how they would have that huge orchestra, and she'd be dead in the center, and like everyone's taking the take together, or Aretha Franklin at Muscle Shoals, or Otis Redding at Stax. They were in the room live with the band.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do.
And are you playing the song all the way through, or are you like...
All the way through.
Wow.
Yeah. And at first we thought, okay, Durand's gonna come in the room and do these songs live with the band, and then we'll redo the vocals. But the vocals were just so spot on and they were just there that we kept them.
And because you're in a performance rather than something else, right? There's more energy, right?
Yes, it was so emotional, and also the ideas. That was like the most beautiful part. I was coming up with things right free on the mind, like it wasn't premeditated. I was just like, whoa, what was that? I really like that. And it was recorded, and so it's just like, it was a really, really, really freeing thing to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're there. We're doing it live. How many takes does it take normally?
Man. Thinking of Lord Have Mercy, we played that song straight for like 45 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We just looped it around and around and around. And I'd say maybe we took like 8 takes of it. We took it until like I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm getting a headache. With other tunes, it took maybe 3 or 4 takes. But and just picking the best one, the one that felt right. But it took a little figuring out sometimes. And there were sometimes we had to pause and start over again. But yeah, I would say somewhere around 3 or 4.
Wow.
On average, yeah.
Wow. Why didn't everybody do it like that?
I think because it's hard.
What makes it harder?
You are more, the pressure's on a little bit more to be on top of your toes. Because if you make a mistake or mess up, it's not like the band is going to stop. And, you got to keep going. And so I think the pressure is really of like, okay, I have a full take to like really nail this and make it sound good.
So wait, so if you made a mistake, would you stop or would you just keep going?
For the most part, we would keep going. And maybe, if something was really blatant or someone was like, that note I played there is really offensive to my ears, we would, make some edit here or there, but we really tried to take everyone's like full takes of the record.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing.
Thanks.
To take it back to that, like performing together, all in the same room.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think folks realize how infrequent that is. Because when we see it in movies, that's pretty much how they do it most of the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of times
That's not the case.
they never
at all.
were in the room. They sent a MP3, emailed it. Okay, send it back. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah, it was really affirming for me to know that I could do it the way my heroes did it.
Hell yeah. So wait, so how do you write?
I start with poetry.
Mm.
I really have to thank my dad for that. He's such a stoic country man. Like he don't say much or anything really. And it always blew my mind away that when there would be like a program at church or whatever, he would get up and say these like really beautiful poems. And I'm like, where's this emotional man coming from? Because I definitely don't see this at home. Like where's this artistry coming from? And so I really feel like I got a love of poetry from him. And so usually I don't give myself any rules when I'm writing poetry. Sometimes I even make up words if it means something to me, or if it's or if it's like grabbing me. And from there, I take the lines that I like the most and work with those to develop, some kind of A, B, C, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're singing, you're writing for yourself, right? Are you thinking about the audience? We want to make a hit. We want to connect with people. You're like, I gotta love it.
I've done the let's make a hit thing in the past, but with this stuff, this was all personal for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deeply. Yeah. And it's been really, really, really cool seeing how something personal for me is also healing and beneficial for the listeners.
Yeah, it's so liberating to share a part of your real heart and spirit and have people accept it and embrace it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's crazy.
Definitely. Yeah.
What's next?
What's next? Oh man, I'm just gonna hit the road on this project, and I feel like an ambassador of Hillaryville now. And so I'm gonna keep telling the story about this place. Hillaryville, surrounded by sugarcane for most of my life. But slowly and surely, the sugarcane fields are turning into subdivisions. And these subdivisions are really fancy and really nice, and they're surrounding this poor Black little community, which causes the property taxes to raise. And it's already happening to where some of the families who were given this land, like their ancestors who were formerly enslaved folks, received this land. They haven't been able to afford the property taxes on it, so it's been taken away from them. And all of a sudden, we're seeing this contrast, this crazy contrast of these really nice houses next to these really raggedy trailers. And of course, the people in the nice houses have no context. They don't know that Hillaryville was founded by formerly enslaved folks who received it as a form of reparations. They don't know any of that history, and so all they see is something to get rid of, something that's depreciating the value of their homes. And so I feel like it's my duty now to tell this story of this place and to bring light on not only Hillaryville, but all these other little small Black towns in the rural South that are just like it, so that, the story is told and that they don't disappear.
Wait, are you saying you come from people who actually got their 40 acres?
In a way, yeah. The thing is that the plantation that these enslaved folks came from, there was over 500 enslaved people there, but they only gave it to the 8, men who were, the most respectable. Hillary Rice was like a minister.
Okay.
For the enslaved, a man of color himself. And so I guess he was considered to be the leader, so they named it Hillaryville after him.
They gave him how much?
I don't really know.
They gave him some acres.
Yeah.
And this town is because of him. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm so proud of it because it really goes to show like what would happen if America would give Black folks their just due, their reparations. You could use Hillaryville as an example. Immediately, what these folks did was build a school so their kids could learn and educate themselves. They built churches, they built restaurants and general store and a hotel, and they had bars and juke joints in this little town of 500 folks. But they just wanted a place, a community that was self-sustaining, where they could feel 100% human, They didn't, because they knew as soon as they left the sugarcane fields and crossed the train tracks, that it would not be the same case.
And now they have a superstar.
Oh my goodness. A little ambassador, I'm proud.
You should be.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for a great interview, and thanks to you for listening. Touré Show gives you fuel to power your dreams because you can use your dreams like a rocket ship to blast you into a life you never imagined. You can make your dreams a reality. Maybe this show can help. You can find me on Twitter at Touré and on Instagram at Touré Show. Touré Show is written by me, Touré, and produced by Jennifer Brown. Our editor is Ryan Woodhall. Our booker is Claudia Jean. And we're distributed by DCP Entertainment. And we will be back on Wednesday with more amazing guests because the man can't shut us down.